welcome to today's episode of Talk and Roll. Today's the captain's flying solo, and today we have out of Motor City, Kyle 313. He is locked down. I mean, this dude's doing everything. I looked at your profile or your webpage, and you do everything. You're playing guitar, bass, acoustic. You're playing rock, metal. You're is there anything you don't play?
Um, I'm not a DJ, and I make fun of that with my social media handles on Instagram and stuff. It says DJ Metal Afro, and it's the only thing that I'm not is a DJ. So I guess that's the funniness behind that.
And shortly you'll probably figure that out, and you'll be going from there. All
Yeah,
right. So,
maybe.
tell us about yourself, Kyle.
So I am a full-time musician and have been for the last 15 years. I started off just a regular kid and that wanted to pursue rock and roll. I think a lot of it had to do with my father being a hardcore rock and roller, and he played the drums, and we always had a drum set while I was growing up. And while I was growing up, also I would get into my dad's CDs and just put in like I'd steal a Queen CD, like the greatest hits, and just listen to that one on repeat for maybe I was like maybe 3 years old, 3 to 5 years old at that point, and just getting that rock and roll instilled into me. And then at a certain point, I think Guitar Hero came out, and that just the getting that feeling when you lifted the guitar neck and Star Power, and all those people started like clapping for you and stuff. And I was just like, oh man, this is really cool. Maybe that guitar in the corner, maybe I should really try and learn how to play that. And then that was right at this nexus point where I got really tired of playing hockey. So I kind of ran the course with that. I was like the captain of my hockey teams. I was scoring all the goals. So I kind of seen where that was going. I was like, okay, well, it's kind of cool. I'm kind of getting hurt out there. That's, like there was a bunch of downsides where when I looked at all these rock stars like Slash or Zach Wild, I was like, I don't know if there's a lot of downsides to this. It looks like a pretty cool lifestyle. And meanwhile, at 15, everybody's trying to tell me otherwise. Like the teachers at school and the principals at school, they're all going, no, no, do not go down that rabbit hole, man. You do not want that. And meanwhile, all of that, everybody telling me not to do it, made it seem all the more intriguing, I think. And it seemed like it was like this path less traveled by like a lot of my counterparts, where in school nobody knew what the hell they wanted to be when they grew up. Like that seemed to be a really, really big trend with people my age, which I'm 29 now, so everybody can do the math. Nobody knew what they wanted to do. Nobody had any sort of vision, and I felt like somehow I was bestowed this gift where at a very young age of maybe 13, 14 years old, I was like, I think this is what I want to do. I'm going to go full head on into this. I'm going to try to meet some people. I started at that point in time, Craigslist was a really, really big thing for finding musicians. That was before Facebook had taken off for finding musicians. So I ended up finding a lot of friends that I'm still friends with to this day, that I'm still performing with and creating with, or just really good friends with on Facebook still, or just keep up with on a really good basis. And from there, I started. What I know you wanted to ask this. The first band,
First band name.
came up with, and while I was a kid and dreaming and stuff, I came up with the band name of Hazard Head, which is a little bit close to Motorhead with Hazard Head, one word. And that ended up being one of my main acts for a really long time. And it was a three-piece. It kind of was like a relic band where everybody had long hair and everybody looked like they were straight out of the 80s, and kind of like Steel Panther, but less raunchy, more like trying to write real music instead of just whatever you call Steel Panther. I don't even know if there's a word for it. Comedic rock, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's hard to say at what point it kind of teed off at a certain point in my life. Being in Hazard had that we were just as a lot of bands are out there when you're pounding the pavement and touring and stuff, there's like not a lot of money to be had, and the money that there is to be had, it's already somebody else's, and it ends up being this real grimy lifestyle where you end up not eating a lot of nights, and it ends up pissing you off, and you end up looking for some other alternatives where knowing that I knew how to play bass, I knew how to play guitar. I was like, okay, well, what other bands are out here that I could maybe fit into and use my skill set to maybe make a few bucks? And as soon as I started thinking that, I got hit up by a band called Seven Story Fall, which I did some touring with for probably like 3 to 4 years. Went to Oklahoma, went to New York, did a lot of cool things with them. And that's kind of like a pop punk vein, and that for me was really foreign at the point in time, that Blink 182 style
Oh, yeah.
stuff where a lot of people it's foreign too, but to a lot of people out there, like uh, the the masses, they're very clued into it and they really enjoy that kind of genre. So at that point in time, where I was so zoned into the 80s type stuff and opening for the Bullet Boys and opening for Great White. And I was kind of living with the blinders on, thinking that that's all there was. And as soon as I stepped outside that door and started playing with Seven Story Fall, I started realizing, hey, there's a lot I don't know. And there's a lot of people out here that I don't think any of these people know who Winger are. And they're having a really good time right now. Perhaps I missed the ball here. And then, so at that point in time, I was just like, okay, well, at any point in time, I get an offer to go do something worth merit, I'm going to take it, no matter if I got to go here, if I got to go there. No, I'm going to take the job and I'm going to make the best of it. And that was a really big turning point in my life. And then after all of that played out for a couple of years, I started realizing there was a lot of cats out there playing the acoustic guitar and playing solo and singing, just a one-man show,
Yeah.
one man show. And never did that once occur to me. It took like 11 years of me playing out there for me to go, wow, maybe I don't need a whole bunch of other cats to be a part of this, to make this happen. If hold on, I think my phone might be dying a bit there. Oh no, I got it. So for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been doing a lot of solo work where I've been playing the waterfront locations, been hitting up Put-in-Bay quite frequently, which is amazing. I know you're from Ohio. I hope you visit Put-in-Bay every now and again.
Long, long, long time ago, I was at Put-in-Bay. I was like, I get up in that area. Ironically enough, I go up and see a lot of shows in the Detroit area, and we have a cabin um, in Brighton, Michigan. So we go over in that area a lot. So
Oh
I,
wow! So
yeah,
you come up where like over here, and then I go to Put-in-Bay. Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny, and I don't get up as much as the rest of my family does because I own my own business, so it's hard for me to walk away from. Uh,
uh,
so literally, it's was um my mother-in-law's family's, then um we had a death in the family. So her brother moved into the cabin next door, and he's like, "Hey, our cabin's you can my cabin's up for sale." And my mother-in-law decided to want it, so we bought it as a family. And she goes up, we go up, we spend time up there, and I've been going up there almost since I met my wife. It was like a few months later, I ended up starting to go up to Michigan with my wife.
no way.
Yeah.
Nice.
But other than that, I've been up there a lot because we used to go up for, I'm a comic book guy, and we used to go up for Motor City Comic Con all the time.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And
I get a lot of cool people show up for that, like a lot of wrestlers and stuff too.
oh, yeah. I just told the story on one of my other shows is the comic book artist Rob Liefeld, the guy that created one of the co-creators of Deadpool. I got kicked out of Motor City Con because I was hanging with War, and I'm at the War booth, and it's across from Rob Liefeld. So all we're doing is heckling Rob Liefeld the entire time. And pretty soon,
Uh,
security comes up and goes, "Sir, we're gonna have to ask you to leave." And I'm like, "I guess I'm the only one that can get kicked out." So I'll see you guys later.
Guar can't get kicked out. They're
No,
allowed to do that. That's their
no.
character.
Oh yeah, but we
They're staying in character.
100%. I gotta find it because I keep looking around for it, but it's been moved around and packaged up and lost to time. But I have pictures of me in full odorous costume, and it is one of the grossest, stinkiest things I have ever put on in my entire
Oh,
life, but
man.
the coolest thing I've ever probably wore.
I can't
What?
even imagine. I can't even imagine that. That probably smells putrid.
Oh, it was vile because it's all foam rubber and it just soaks all that stuff up. So all it does smell like sweat and the stuff they use on the stage, and
It's,
they just box it up, wear it to the next show, and it's pretty much destroyed at the end of each season or each tour. And I have it on, and it is gross, but I did it. I wore it. I'm like, what the hell? When else are you going to have that chance? So
uh, you do that. If you have the chance, you do that.
hell yeah. But oh shit. So I was like, hey, at least I'm more than 2 minutes in. I can drop a test bomb.
It's,
Um, but you got started like finding music really young then. And was your dad an 80s metal guy or the
he's more like Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin.
okay, so he's mid 70s,
Oh yeah,
late 70s.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
All that stuff. That I was kind of steeped in that too. So meanwhile, while I'm growing up, he's got that cranking on a real high fidelity stereo for me to hear all the details. So that had a lot to do with it too. And then a part of my diversity, I think, is beyond all that stuff. I was being influenced by my father was, well, during the day while my dad's at work, my mom's got Motown playing on the TV,
Yep.
and then also I have an older sister, so I always thought she was super cool, and she was listening to the Smashing Pumpkins and Power Man 5000 and cool stuff like that. So I also had that type of influence too, where whenever I could, I would grab a CD of hers too, and listen to the Smashing Pumpkins for a bit and get that type of influence. So I definitely, and then plus Detroit itself is a really large melting pot of a lot of different stuff. Once I started opening my eyes to everything at 13, 14, and started going up to the clubs that were 21 plus and finding my way in, and taking a look around and going, wow, man, that's interesting. I've never heard metal like this. Or getting to meet Joey Belladonna at that age too, and just all those types of large figures that had so much inspirational things to tell me at that point in time. And Joey Belladonna was the first, because that was particularly a show that was 21 plus, and I was going there to pick up tickets for a show that I was playing there. I was opening for Loudness, so I was going and picking up the tickets, and the owner told me to stay, enjoy the show, and so I was definitely the youngest person there. And plus, I had a backpack. In the backpack, I had a bong, and so I was the only person in there with a bong. And then, so at the end of the show, and I barely knew Anthrax at that point in time, but I saw the show, I saw what they were all about, and I thought they were awesome. So I was hanging out with Joey Belladonna. We had the bong going, and he was just full of inspiration at that point to me. And then the rest of my band, meanwhile, they're there. They're all older than me, and they're jealous that I'm getting to hang out with Joey. And Joey's the one telling me, he's like, "You got the fire in your eyes, kid. You got the fire in your eyes." And I'm like, "Holy shit, man! This guy's scaring me." And so those types of things definitely always stick with me. All of the legends that I've had passing bys with, or moments like that with Joey, is just they've all helped.
Was that on his solo tour?
It was. It
Yeah.
was.
I saw this. I saw that tour down here, and Joey is one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. we're sitting there talking. I go, yeah, I wish my son could have went because it was yet 21 and up, and my son was young. He's 23 now, and they were sitting there. He's like, oh, he goes, why isn't he here? And I was like, dude, 21 and up. And he goes, hey, you should have brought him anyways. I'd made him take it, bring him in. He goes, what's his name? And I went, Joe. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, he's Joseph, man. He's like, that's a great name. He gets up on stage. We talk a while. So we're sitting there chit chatting for a few minutes, and he's like, "Hey," goes up on stage, and he's talking. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "I just talked to a guy who couldn't bring his son here because it's 21 and up." And my wife starts laughing because that's awesome. Well, I know. But we had a blast. I ended up meeting Scott and Frankie years later, and I was a bass player, so I ended up talking to Frankie, and he's the reason I picked up a bass. I
Oh, nice.
legit watched him play Got the Time, and this is back before YouTube and all that stuff. So I literally watched the video and watched his finger placement the entire time until I memorized everything, and that's how I learned how to play bass.
Nice.
Uh,
Very cool. Yeah, he's definitely got some great technique.
oh yeah.
Very punky type of workmanship.
Yep. Oh yeah, real good and a super cool dude. I mean, he's just like Frank Bello, and he shakes his hand. He's like, and he goes, "Oh, well, you don't play bass anymore?" I was like, "No, I got nerve damage. I can't feel these two fingers." And he's like, he goes, "You can still play it with these two?" I was like, "Yeah, just not very well." So I was like, it's still sitting right here. I still screw around with it every once in a while, but I can't play like I used to. So,
Well, it's good encouragement from him. Never give up.
oh no.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I've learned about doing this show is we've talked to so many musicians, and they're like, I talked to one guy, he's like, "Oh, I can't feel my hand." He goes, "I it's all muscle memory on playing the bass," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" I was like, I didn't get that good to where it was muscle memory because I wasn't ever that good, but yeah, we're working on it. I still mess around with it. My kids are all. I'm one of them parents who I'm very supportive of my kids. And literally, if you look way back here in the back, my son has an electric drum kit, and I bought it for him for Christmas, and he loves it. Look, he doesn't love it because he wants a real drum kit. He doesn't want the electric one, but that kid learns like insanely fast. In like from Christmas to like 2 weeks later, he knew like 12 songs.
Nice.
But he has autism, so he picks that up real easy. But yeah, but so I like to know, and I know the Detroit area and up in Michigan that has a huge club scene. Um, how well does that work? Is there too many clubs? Because I've heard places complain because they're just that way people don't get paid because there's too many clubs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, at a certain point, there definitely could be. I think probably that's a scenario that happens down there in Nashville. From what I hear, is there's too many clubs down there, so that way they beat down the pay rate and stuff. But I haven't noticed anything like that happening up here. Um, do and plus, there's been like a whole bunch of new ones that have um, just opened within the last year or two, and if anything, it's helped with the market, helped bring everybody's rates up because now instead of there only being a few clubs that would work, yeah, now there's a dozen or two that you could toggle between, and make them fight uh, for the different prices. So
Well,
I have not noticed that up here. No.
okay, cool. The You were talking about being a solo musician. I've noticed that a lot lately, locally, because you just get the guy, the acoustic guitar, sometimes an amp, and they just get up and play. They do hour and a half total. Sometimes they're there the entire night. But you know, one is it's got to be because you get paid. That's it. You don't have to pay your other people. You don't have to pay the sound guy. You don't have to pay the light. It's all 100% your paycheck. You're walking out to pocket. Did you find that being easier to do the solo stuff, or did people still want a full band?
Well, one of the things that I've done on a business end of things is um, I try to be like a McDonald's of the music industry, where if somebody calls and they say they want a tribute band, well, I got the tribute bands. If they call and they say they want a cover band, I got the cover bands. If they want an original band, I got the original bands. And if they want a solo cat, I can do that. I can do a duo. I can do a trio, whatever the aggregation. If they want a freaking blues band, I can put one of those together too. So it's all about having the answer for any phone call, I guess. And that kind of reverts back to like say 10 years ago, I did not have that type of variety. If they did not want an 80s relic band, then I wasn't fitting on the bill, and missed a lot of opportunities potentially. I can't even recount how many potential opportunities that I may have missed by not having a diverse array of acts to offer. So, but a lot of places, specifically for the solo stuff, like it's like those restauranty atmospheres where it's almost too small for a full band,
Yeah.
but it's large enough to have one guy in the corner playing top 40 variety for everybody that's there. So it opens that whole new option up to smaller places. So now it doesn't have to necessarily be a club. It doesn't have to be a theater. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It could be literally the restaurant down the street. And it allows for way better touring options too. So you're not necessarily looking at all the big cities anymore. You're looking at the tourist destinations. You're trying to get into the thick of it at that point. You're trying to somehow preemptively think of, okay, where's everybody going to be, so I can be there and I can perform for them. And it doesn't always end up being, a big promoted theater that there's telling you that there's going to be live music. They could be pushing the lobster and steak, but you could be there helping them push the lobster and steak.
Well, I was on your website and I saw you playing, and you're up there just playing some like really like bluesy riff, and you just see all these old people out in your audience just sitting at their tables like
Mm.
eating dinner, and I'm like, do you get people who just kind of like look at you and be like, oh, what the hell is this metal and then you start playing, they're like, oh, okay, and then they go back to
Oh
you.
my God. Yeah, it happens a lot. And it most recently happened to me in Ohio, in Findlay, Ohio.
Okay.
And it was the management, as soon as they see me roll up and they see, the whole swag, they're like, uh-oh, Ted Nugent's gonna blow the roof off this place tonight. I'm like, hold on, hold on. Like, we're not all about that. That's not today. Not I can, but not today. Not gonna.
You should walk up with like, get a little thing on your phone, you're like, you turn this amp or you can turn it down. That's me today. So well, it's we had a friend who kind of went through that whole thing too. He was one of them guys who was oh, it's all originals or nothing, or
Mm,
then it was metal, and he realized that that wasn't paying the bills. He ended up joining a country band, and he was making bank touring as a country band. And he was a bass player, played
mm.
all over, but he was a touring, and he came back, and he'd go back to doing his, he went from death metal to country, and
That's
now,
a big jump.
yeah, and now he's the touring, he's the bassist for a Iron Maiden tribute band,
Mm.
and he kicks ass. He's one great bass player, and he was one of the ones who was almost embarrassed by playing covers, and we're like, "Why? Are you having fun? Yeah. Why are you worried about it? Nobody. You
It,
have it.
it, I guess to elaborate on that, it's all about your objectives. If your
Yeah.
objectives aren't to make money and you just want to play metal songs for people, like that's cool. But if you're trying, well, even if you're just trying to play metal and you're trying to make it to a certain level, like there's ways of doing it. You just got to figure it out, because there's still a lot of successful touring metal bands out there that exist at a very high level beyond all of our comprehension. I just worked for a couple of them over here at the Token Lounge, like Firewind. I didn't even know they were still out there. They're still out there kicking ass at a very high degree. And then another band that just came through town, Symphony X. very high level touring act. And it's like, to me, I had no idea they existed, but they filled an 800 capacity room, no problem, and it was not on a Friday or Saturday. So it just goes to show that they have a very powerful thing going out there. So I would even say, if that particular person, I don't know who they are, but that particular person, if they would have had a good conducive plan and a good production plan, all of that stuff, like it's still very possible to have a very successful metal band nowadays.
Oh yeah. A few years ago, I ended up talking to a guy who was, oh man, I'm trying to remember. I think he was a touring musician, but he was a metal guy, like hard metal guy, but he was playing with a big country act, and I'm not 100%. I think it was like, I know it's not Brooks and Dunn, but it was a pretty good size one. And he's like, yeah, he goes, I've made more money than I've ever made in my entire life. He goes, I've toured the world. He goes, but as soon as I get home, I go right back into the garage and I start playing my metal. He goes, he goes, he goes, contraband pays the bills. He goes, metal's my passion. He goes,
And that's the way it is.
yeah,
And I'm glad that guy sees it that way, because what he's doing is he's using his skills to pay the bills.
yep,
That's all it is. And like a lot of people that are too stubborn to realize, like, okay, well, in order for me to live my life the way that I want to live it, I have to go out there and I have to do this or I have to do that. It might not be your number one option, but at least you're not going and doing something you really don't want to do, you know.
dude, I worked at factories and retail for most of my life, and it took me up until 12 years ago. And I'll be 50 next month, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. But I've had to go through all this shit to get to the happiness, and
That's the
yeah,
way it goes.
yeah. So
Long road, long road. And a lot of people, uh, like other musicians, they reach out to me and they think, like that I've got it made in the shade or something like that. It's like, no, man, like I'm still working towards a real big picture dream of mine. I have not reached any point of success where I feel like I can relax, like, at all. Like, I'm still out here hungry as a MF, trying to figure this out like everybody else. So it's one of those things that I think is the most amazing about the music industry and business, is how big of a rabbit hole it is. I think out of every industry that there is, this has probably got to be the most unique and ever changing. Every day that I wake up, something's changing, and trying to keep your finger on the pulse has probably got to be one of the hardest things about everything.
oh yeah.
All this encompassing.
Well, we had a discussion with another band because in my area, tribute bands and cover bands are huge. Um, yeah, you get the big touring acts that come through that do their original stuff. So those are good too. But that weird mid-range people with their original stuff doesn't quite take off. But if you go south, you go past Dayton down to Cincinnati, it starts blowing up again.
Mm.
But in my area, maybe even up north, probably to about Lima, it's all about the cover bands. It's all about the tribute bands. People want to see one of the ones that I see tour around here a lot is Jump, the
Yeah.
Van Halen
Good
tribute band.
friends of mine. Good friends of mine. Love
Uh,
those guys.
well, it was funny. I've seen them a couple times, but one day I'm walking out of Speedway and they're walking by and I'm like, touring? Because I can see the van with the trailer and stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, we're touring. I was like, what's your band name? It's like Jump. Where I was like, I know who you are. I've seen you. And they're like, where'd you see us? I was like, I think McGuffey's before it changed, or it might have been. And he's, oh yeah, that was a great show. And I'm like, fuck yeah, but gas station, fucking
Yeah.
gas station.
What's amazing is a lot of these tribute bands, and this is another business, like, deep cut, that a lot of people don't like to talk about, is a lot of these tribute bands are making the same amount as these bands in the 80s that have worked their entire life to get their name to a significant touring standard, where these tribute bands can make themselves worth that in say a year, 2 years. These 80s bands have been working, 30 plus years to get their names to that point. So now it's like more worth it than ever to create a tribute band because of where the worth is. And it's like almost this fast track to a pretty decent, money train where anything else in the music business it's pretty slow build. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the tribute bands, and I'm definitely on that train, trying to take care of that the best I can. And then one of the things that I think helps me on the tribute end of things is my deep, deep love for rock and roll. It makes it easy for me to put on a hat and think that I'm Bobby Dahl for 2 hours. It's pretty easy for me to immediately just take on that role. I don't think too much of it, but for a lot of other people, it might be a lot. But to me, it's fun. I have a great time doing it. I love paying tribute to all the artists that I love and respect and have grown up with, and I'm honored to play the role that I do to replicate that music that I do for Poison with Ride the Wind, and then Psychotic Paradise, my Tesla tribute, and then Bloodstone, Judas Priest tribute. So those are the three that I'm currently working with right now. So I love the tribute band scene. It's a very easy market. I love it. You
Yeah.
can go anywhere and people will show up because they're coming there to hear the songs they know and love.
Yeah. Well, it's a couple years back. My wife and I went and seen Bret Michaels, and the two bands that opened for him were both tribute bands or cover bands at least, and they played, and it was great. I've seen cover bands open for larger bands, and then they end up getting on stage at the end of the show and playing with the big band, and you're just like, you know 20 years ago, I was like, "Ah, that shit will never happen." And now it's super common, because we would get the tribute tours. I got to see what was it, like Battery, Cowboys from Hell, and there's another band. But it was like and they came out, played, Metallica, Pantera, and well, I can't remember. It's been so long ago. Killed it. They came out, did the whole gimmicks, everything. Seen, I don't know how many. I've never seen Kiss personally, but I've seen probably 10 cover bands.
And to elaborate on that, being a 29-year-old dude, like there's a lot of these bands that have died way before I was even born, man.
Yep.
So the fact that I can go and see and like a Beatles tribute or a Kiss tribute or anything like that that I never will be able to see, but here's the next best thing, and it gives me a mild sense of what it was like,
Oh yeah.
for the ones that do a good job, that is. And a lot of the ones that are out there that are demanding good money, like Jump or anybody worth their salt, they're doing a badass job. Like
Oh yeah.
Van Halen, that's one I'll never get to see. Eddie Van Halen is gone, R.I.P. But Jump's out there doing a fantastic replication of it, and it's the next best thing. So
Yeah. The other one was Atomic Punks. I got to see essentially Steel Panther before they were Steel Panther.
yeah, that's where he came from,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. It's
Oh,
seen them. I think in Cincinnati at Bogart's. Seems about right.
nice.
Um, but the cool thing about seeing some of these tribute bands is that like I'm not going. I'm going to throw Kiss under the bus a little bit on this one. Um, you can see these tribute bands getting up there and they got passion. They're busting
Mm.
their butts. They really want to do this. You go to see a Kiss show, they're kind of phoning it in. Actually, they're not even phoning it in. They're actually just hitting play on a freaking laptop in the back, and then they go out there and just
Yeah,
yeah,
that is so true. So true. Where a lot of these bands, they haven't been put through the ringer as such as like all of the bands they're paying tribute to. So you're more likely to get a good, wholesome show from them. And they're working for it. You know, that they want their name to circulate and for people to go back home and be like, yeah, you know, I really like that particular band. You know, I can't wait for them to come back to town. So they have to work as hard as any other band to create any sort of uh, natural response from, you know, the communities that they're playing in and stuff. So it's not like they get a free pass or anything like that. It's they're working as hard as everybody else, if not harder, because a lot of those bands like Kiss, for example, I once had an offer to be in a Kiss band and to play the role of Gene Simmons, and then I had to do a real hard one of these, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna wear those boots, and I'm not gonna dedicate 90 minutes before every show to put on some sort of face paint and shave, you know, just like sounds like such a tedious effort. And but that's the type of passion that is required for certain gigs. But luckily for the ones that I'm in, like Judas Priest and stuff, I don't have to do all too much. I just have to grab the proper bass, the proper equipment, go up there and look relatively presentable, and that's the show, because that was their show. They didn't put too much extra into it. But there's a lot of those bands out there that if you're saying you're going to be a tribute to them, there's going to be a lot that goes along with it.
You said that you're in a Tesla tribute band.
Yes.
Yes. I'm not gonna lie, I think that might be the first Tesla tribute band I've heard of.
Yes. And another thing that's interesting about it is we have a female singer, which is crazy that you could get that kind of voice out of a female, but she does it so effortlessly. It's amazing. So not only are we one of the few Tesla tributes in the entire world, we are the only female fronted Tesla tribute.
That is cool. I'm gonna have to one of these days when I'm up in Michigan again, I'm gonna find you where you're at and go see a Tesla show.
Well, hopefully we come on down your way. That's my plan.
There we go. Always. Well, you said you were in the before we started recording, you were at the King of Clubs doing the
Yes.
Judas Priest tribute band.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A fantastic place you got there.
Yeah.
Fantastic place.
Yeah. Like I said, every time I think I'm gonna go, I accidentally went there because I was supposed to go to a different club called the Ace of Cups. It ended up the direction sent me to the King of Clubs.
Oh my God.
Luckily, it was only like 7 miles apart. But yeah, it was literally like I'm sitting there. I'm like, I pull up in the parking lot. I look at my kid, and I'm like, there is absolutely nobody here yet. And then I went, wait a minute, damn it! And I looked at my phone. I'm like, okay, that's it. That's what it did. Stopped at a Waffle House, grabbed food, drove the 15 minutes away, and got back in there. Walked right in the door, and got to see the show we went for.
Nice.
But the so I love asking this question. Tour horror stories. It's just the weirdest thing or the worst thing that's happened to you while you've been on tour.
All right. Well, this one's probably my girlfriend's favorite story that I tell. So when I joined that particular group, Seven Story Fall, back in 2014, and there was this big old contract that I had to sign that was not the Chinese phone book, but just like a regular phone book. And there was a lot of stuff that I wasn't going to comply to, but I wanted to do the tour anyway, so I signed it. So anyway, we get to probably Missouri, Oklahoma area, and one of the things that was in the contract that I had to drive, and I do not drive. I have people drive me around. I've never had a driver's license, but at this point in time in history, I had a permit, and everybody that was in the van and part of the crew, they were tired. I was wired awake due to whatever weed I was smoking at that point in time, and so they were like, yeah, you know what, you it's your turn to drive. I was like, you know, even though I have this permit, I've never technically drove. Are you sure you want me to drive this like 12 passenger van with this trailer behind me, like in a state I've never been in before? Like, are you sure this is a good idea? And all of them were so tired that they were like, yeah, you know what, just do it. You'll figure it out. And it's like this old van. It's like it's hard to get anything to work. But anyway, get onto the freeway, and I'm like doing like 60 in the fast lane, and I keep hitting those things that go vroom, vroom.
Yeah.
So nobody's able to get any sleep. So about like maybe 25, 30 minutes in, they were just like, all right, dude, you just pull over, I'll take over. But yeah, that was probably one of the weirdest probably the scariest story, honestly, for me, because I was afraid I was gonna kill everybody at that point in time.
Well, yeah, you got to start somewhere. And you
I,
can start big. You got to start with a 12-passenger van pulling a trailer. And as someone who drives regularly a big old, probably a 12-person van and has pulled trailers, I hate pulling trailers. And I've been driving for 35 years almost at this point. And I'd still like, if somebody pulled me up and they're like, hey, you need y'all. Nah, you can get somebody else to do that.
yeah, no, I was hung swaggled into it 100%, and I signed something apparently.
Well, it's one of them. They got to sneak that in. I'm surprised they're like, well, you got to buy us breakfast every morning while you're doing.
Yeah, probably did. Probably did.
So they sneak it. That's like I was trying to book bands. We were talking about cover bands being pulling bank. Um, I was trying to do a show here a few years back, God, quite a while back now, and we were looking to get. It was like, oh man, we'll get some the tribute bands. I'm sure we can get that. There was one that the tribute band was more than the real band.
Wow.
We could have got the
Now
real
that
band
makes sense.
because they were cutting through on tour. So we were just basically going to get lucky and get them for the day.
Oh, so the fly-in prices and all the other logistics added up to be more than for the
Yeah,
fly.
the tribute band, we would have had to bring them in. The actual touring band was like, well, we can get you this date. And then the worst part about it was we'd started booking the bands for the other day, and the band gave us, they're like, we can't make it on Friday. We got to play Saturday. And I'm like, so we got a hold of the other band. We switched everything around. Was able to get everything figured out. We were getting ready to do all the paperwork and stuff. And then we had no problem with the touring bands. It was the local bands that started causing problems. And we're just like, we're fighting with these guys, and we're like, dude, you're going to open for two big headlining bands with, 20 minutes away from your house. When are you ever going to be able to do that? And they wanted more money. I'm like, dude, you guys, I can't. It's not how this is going to work. Do you want to open up for, And they're like, yeah, we want to play, but we need this, this, and this. And then I started getting riders, and I'm like, dude, you guys, you're just a little low. I was like, no, we're done. And I started like, no, fine, I'll get somebody else to replace you. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the way you gotta be. Yeah, I mean, hardball can only go to a certain extent.
and oh my god, riders are fun. I was supposed to put a band in this club locally. It was Saliva. I can actually tell this one. I was booking Saliva. I had them. We were doing everything down to it. I got the rider. I'm looking at the rider, and it's just batshit crazy. I'm looking at this. They want a pound of smoked turkey. They wanted 2 pounds of honey baked ham. You're just looking at this list of everything they wanted, and I'm like, okay, well, it's still not horrible. Then the guy I was booking the venue for decided to run a show the same day in another part of the bar. And I'm like, why would you do this? We're booking a Saliva, a national headlining act, to a little bar in Piqua, Ohio. And he's like, oh, I forgot. I'm like,
No.
and then I found out he was, you know, and and I'm
And
like,
that's
oh, that explains a lot. And so he got too flaky to deal with. I'm like, dude, I'm done. I got a hold of the Saliva's management. I'm like, hey, the venue guy is I'm out. I was like, if you want to deal with them, I gave him his information. That guy never even got back with him. I'm like, fine. But yeah, I was this close. I
Yeah.
had them for like I think like 5 grand.
Did you buy the honey baked ham already, or like
No,
did that
no,
wait?
never got that far. But yeah, they wanted like you had to have like a 12 pack of Gatorade, and they wanted X amount of bottles to be like the red, X amount of bottles to be the blue, X amount of bottles. You had to get a box of like Wrigley spearmint gum, not packs. You had to go buy a factory sealed box. And I'm just like, I get it because I read the why Van Halen did the brown M&Ms. You know, I get why they want to make sure that you're following all the rules.
It's not supposed to be that though. It's supposed to be the things that the artist needs to feel comfortable and perform at optimal
Yeah,
like ability. It got way out of hand thanks to Van Halen. Thanks, Van Halen. Look at what
dude,
you've done.
these guys wanted sheets for their beds. I like they wanted to get because I don't know if they just don't launder their sheets or whatever, but literally it's on the list that they had to have a pack of queen size bed linen and stuff like that. I'm like,
So, do you want me to buy like a fountain for your house
yeah,
too, or like a couple pink flamingos for the
yeah.
front yard, or like
It
what?
it
Are we
was
just furnishing your house at this point?
oh
Like,
yeah, it was
what
insane. And I'm just like, and I even messaged back the guy. I'm like, is this real? And he's like, yeah, they want if you're gonna play, they need everything on that list. And I'm like, so I'm like talking to my buddies who and one of my other buddies booked bands, and I'm like, is this real? And he's yeah, 100%. Because that's what they do. I'm like,
Well, it's like you got your fixed price, and then you got to add that on top of it. It's like
mhm.
it makes it so unworth it
Yeah,
because
it was 5 grand to get them, and it was probably another grand full of stuff that they needed thrown in on top of it.
it's annoying. It's
Yeah.
annoying. It makes it a little out of grasp for local promoters like you or I or
Hmm.
anybody that's just kind of trying to do something good for the community. It's like, nope, nope. You got to be a big corporation to be able to handle this workload, there,
Yeah.
buddy. And it's not inviting, that's for sure.
Well, I was really close to booking one of the two LA Guns at one point, and they're like, "Oh, we can't book it now." And I'm like, "What's going on?" And they were like relatively cheap, and they're like, "Oh, the other LA Guns is going to be near you at that same time."
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay." They're like, "No, if they're within like an hour, they won't perform."
yeah.
And I'm like,
Well, it's a sticky situation that's pretty unique, I'd have to say. Like, I wonder if like the great whites do that same thing because there's multiple great
yeah, because
whites,
it's
or
Jack
now
Russell's
there's
Great White.
multiple salivas. So,
Yeah.
like, to even bring them back up. So now they gotta kind of make sure they're not in the same radius, and it probably
Hmm.
gets pretty difficult to maneuver that type of crap.
Yep, I could imagine. Dealing with it. Just trying to do a work with a guy that was, he basically gave me the upstairs of his bar, which had a stage and a whole 9 yards, and that's what I was going to start booking shows. And then he just spaced on me, and I was like, I'm done. I walked away from it. Yeah,
Gotcha.
unfortunately he closed shortly thereafter, and then they gutted the building, so you can't even use it for anything now. But no, it's music's a very unique thing to deal with. Um, so we've been talking. You started out relatively young, getting into music. Now you, like you said, you play everything. You're up there. Like I said, I've seen you on your website playing it to a lot of older people, and I do have to ask, when you were in a pop punk band, did you change your image, or did you just roll up there looking, like 1988 up there?
Yeah, that's interesting question. So I one of the things in that contract that I signed was that I had to wear a collared shirt, and I did not have a collared shirt, and I left the house without a collared shirt. And we got to like where the first show was happening, and they're like, "Where's your collared shirt?" And I was dressed like 1989, and I'm like, well, I don't got one. They're like, well, we're gonna have to go get you one. So then we went out of our way. Somebody else flipped the bill for it, got me a black collared shirt, but pretty much everything else was the same. Just put on a black collared shirt, and that was good enough for the pop punk world, I suppose.
Oh, it's so funny because I did an interview with this one girl. She went from being, metal, and then she did a pop punk song, and it was like, huh. And then it kind of took off, and she's like, oh, I guess this is my new thing now. I just moved over to pop punk.
It's a good world. A lot of cool stuff going on over there. A lot of people that really enjoy that.
Yeah, they really dig it, man. Like heavy. That's like I do an interview. I talk with this one band called Brighter Than a Thousand Suns. Started out as basically thrash metal, and now they're synthwave. I was like,
Say.
I'm like, how do you go
So
from
my main act right now, my main original project is called Savage Reaction,
yeah,
and that the main thing that we do in that band is we call it a genre bending band, where our first song, it kind of was like a little bit of a 90s, kind of Nirvana style vibe, a little bit Bad Flowery. And then the second song, it kind of was like a Linkin Park rap reggae kind of vibes. And then the third song, total pop punk with some ethereal vibes in there, like with a little bit of spacey ambiance to it. And really trying to come up with something that sounds different, feels different. And nowadays, when you go out to the world and you ask people, like in a general populace, what kind of music they listen to, they usually respond with everything. Everybody's listening to everything nowadays, and to be able to be a band that's able to answer that, and to be able to play everything, to have a hard rock song, then have a rap song, have a pop punk song, and just have a plethora of different vibes and different genres for people to sink into, but meanwhile allowing us to advertise to different markets and stuff at the same time. So that's my main act. If anybody would like to go check that out, savagereaction.com, or it's at sabreact on all social media. And I think you guys would like what we're up to, but that's my main act right now. That's where I'm putting a ton of my time and all my eggs into that basket right now, and really swinging for the fences with my boys with that one. And we would love to come to your area, and we're actually working on that. And most recently, we were in Findlay, Ohio. That was the closest we've been to you yet.
it's like an
Well,
hour, 10 minutes away from me. But there's about so
that ain't bad. That
it's not
ain't bad. If I could make it there again, you could come see us.
yeah.
Um, but we also double as a cover band. So when it comes to that genre-less mold that we have, where we're just a bunch of jelly playing all kinds of different stuff, that's what you could expect when it comes to our variety show. When it comes to the covers, we're playing everything from White Zombie to Ed Sheeran to Elvis to Cage the Elephant and everything in between, and even hitting them with the Tennessee whiskey. And so
So
that full variety, full variety.
so do you're doing your set is a mix, or do you do like covers at the beginning, your regular show, or how do you do that?
So right now, the way that we do it, like we'll be, for example, tomorrow night we're at a place called Tin Roof Detroit, downtown Detroit, right across the street from where the Tigers play baseball, and we do like about 4 hours, and every 4 or 5 songs we play an original song.
Okay.
But the last 2 weekends, 2 weekends ago, we opened for Josie Scott, Tantric, Trapped, Edema, and several other national acts at a place called the Diesel over here. And for that show, we just played all original songs. And then last weekend, we played the Token Lounge over here. Our first headlining show, where that's all we played was our original songs, and debuted our production. We got geysers, cool lighting show, and whatnot. And so we debuted that last week. So what we kind of have is an original band and a cover band, and we can kind of do both at the same time, or we can just do the original stuff. And kind of got an ever-changing kind of a product there. And then also, whenever I'm called for a duo show, the singer of that act, Austin Moore, is the one that I call for to be my duo partner. So pretty much we could strip that down to the entire show to be a duo, be a trio, be a cover band, be an original band. That's the one that it could go
Utility
anywhere.
band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I gotta ask, you're in, Savage Reaction, you're in the Tesla cover band, the Judas Priest cover band, and the Poison cover band.
Mm.
Has the Poison cover band ever played with the Tesla cover band?
Yes. That's one of
Yes.
our favorite packages to sell. Yes.
All right.
I play bass in both of them, so it's streamlined as hell whenever I can make that happen.
Oh yeah. See, I was wondering if it was are you the only reoccurring member in all the bands? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, I'm a big fan of Clutch, and so I like the fact that there was one tour where basically Clutch opened up for Clutch to headline for Clutch because they were all playing in their respective other bands, but they all toured, and then they were the opening acts for their own band.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, because it was
My dad loved.
Lionize, and then I think the company band, then Clutch. So
Wow,
yeah.
that is awesome. Yeah, people always ask me whenever I'm going to do a show that has all my bands. I'm like, I would die. Why would you want me to die? Why are you asking me to do that? When I have all my bands on, it would be Kyle Fest. It'd be weird. That already happens in Texas, though, where all the Kyles come together.
There you go. That's
Different.
Well, you're already doing a 4-hour show with Savage Reaction as the what the hell, man? You just bring 4 bands that each do an hour.
Yeah, I guess that's what they want. But anyway, I gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
I got my Tesla guys coming over here to do a rehearsal tonight, getting ready for some shows we got coming up. But is there anything else that you want to touch on?
2 things. Where can people find you online?
So that would be Kyle313.com or at DJ Metal Afro on all social media. Or if you just want to type in my name, I know it's asking a lot. You could just type in my name. There's not too many other people that come up with that name. So if you can manage to type in my name, you'll find me.
And what some of your upcoming shows and where they're at?
So my weekend currently, well, first off, you can go to my website, Kyle313.com, where all my shows are available to view. But tomorrow, Savage Reaction will be at the Tin Roof Detroit, downtown Detroit, right across the street from Comerica Park, 5:30 to 9:30 on the indoor stage, one of our favorite places to play. And then on Saturday, I'm going to be playing in Put-in-Bay at Mr. Ed's from 12:30 to 4:30, and then Savage Reaction will be in Madison Heights, Michigan, 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. And then Monday, I will be playing solo at a place that I have a residency at over here on a golf course called Coach's Corner. And I will be there 6 to 9 p.m. on Monday.
And last thing, advice for up and coming musicians.
Try different things. You never know what exactly your path is going to be. There's a lot of winding road in this musical world, and in order to find your spot, you just got to keep going down different paths, and you'll wind up at very cool places, and you'll meet very cool people. Never lose your creative instincts. People will try to dampen that and to take that spark away from you. So never let that happen. And that's a hard question to answer because there's so many different things that I would like to tell the youth. And just follow your heart. That's what I do. Pedro.
There you go. Cool. And since you're going to go play in your Tesla band, I'm going to have to tell you to go hang tough.
Hang tough. Yes. You as well, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I know you got a million other things that you could be doing and a million other people you could be chatting with, but you taking the time out to chat with me, and we've had a great talk. I feel like we've got a lot of ground covered here today, whether it's the tribute bands, the original bands, whether it's the music business as a whole, whatever it is. I think we covered a lot here today.
Yes, we did, sir. And I'm gonna try to get up to Michigan to see you, and if not, we're gonna see if we can catch you when you're here in Ohio.
Yes. Well, I'll do my damnness to try to bring everything that I got nearer to you, as I always try to get down to the Ohio. But if there's any great venues that you got surrounding you that you would be able to send my way, or maybe put in a recommendation over there, that just makes things all the easier for me to make happen.
My goal is that I'm planning to try to get a bunch of the bands, because we've done a lot of bands from Ohio and Michigan. Maybe next spring to bring them all together to have a show locally. So there'll be like 10 bands, and it'll all be from the Ohio, Detroit area.
You're talking about a festival?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because there's a couple places and a couple people I know. So we're fingers crossed. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm hoping. So
awesome. Well, if you're behind it, I'm sure it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it,
awesome.
sir.
Thank you so much, man. You take it easy. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Peace and love to everybody. All right.
Take care, man. See ya.
Well, I just don't know where to start. To be famous, but I don't know where to start. I wanna tell the masses all about my broken heart. Built it best I could, but it's burning down my house of cards. The hand that I was given didn't lift me very far. God, I just wish that it would change. That feeling burning in my veins. I got the light, I got the spark, and seem to get me out the dark, but I just don't know where to start. I just don't know where to start. I'm wanting to be famous and it's tearing me apart. It hasn't happened yet, so I don't feel too fucking smart. Take my every word and I'll burn them all out in the yard. The hand that I was given left me broken, beat and scarred. God, I just wish that it would change. That feeling burning in my veins. I got the light, I got the spark, and seem to get me out the dark, but I just don't know where to start. Still on our way to fame, and we still don't know where to start. The beat at which I'm beating's got me feeling off the charts. Threw me to the wolves and they found out that I'm the shark. The hand that I was given doesn't matter, here we are. God, I just wish that it would change. That feeling burning in my veins. I got the light, I got the spark, it seemed to get me out the dark, but I just don't know where to start. No, I just don't know where to start. I got the light, I got the spark, it seemed to get me out the